Hi everyone, and welcome to ArchyFantasies Attempts Vlogmas Day 4. This will be the video for the 4th. Anyway, I don't know what I'm doing, so we're just rolling with it. I figure we can talk about a different topic every day of the month. It might be interesting and good practice. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about today, because I found my book laying around, about 3 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to travel up to Salem, Massachusetts, and I spent the day walking around Salem, and I really enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun, interviewed a lot of people, learned a lot of really interesting things. I can't wait to go back. I think the little strip of shop town there was actually really kind of cool. I do acknowledge that is not all of Salem, Massachusetts, and you know, the part of Salem that I drove through that wasn't was actually a really nice area, and I really enjoyed being there, and like I said, can't wait to go back. But since I was there and it was only an hour away, I also took a evening trip, because it wasn't the day anymore when I got there, but I went up to go see America's Stonehenge, originally known as Mystery Hill, and I bought a souvenir book because of course I did, and super excited about this. Dennis Stone signed my book. I'm very excited. He was a very nice person. I enjoyed meeting him. I apparently also met his wife, but I didn't know it at the time, and she was also very friendly. She's the one that sold me the ticket, gave me all the information to get me started walking around. I was there for about 2 hours walking around by myself. I think next time I go, I really want to take a tour and hear what the tour guides have to say. But I used their app. They have a really nice, I'm not gonna lie, it's a really nice app. So I used their app while I was there to do a self-tour. From what I can tell, the app just kind of reads out of the book, which is actually not too bad. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good app. It was a good, I think museums actually could learn from an app like that. I did not go pet the alpacas. They were not in the pettable range, and I have been warned. Apparently alpacas are like not the friendliest creatures, so I don't know. I thought they were llamas. But I did get chased by chipmunks and stalked by chipmunks quite a bit, and I think it began to snow. But anyway, I went there in the evening. I think I was there for the last 2 hours that they were even open, and that was because I only had one day in the area, so I spent most of it walking around Salem, and then I spent another 2 hours at America's Stonehenge. I was there before all the leaves fell off the tree, but they had still changed color. It was really pretty. It wasn't really that cold, so I don't know where the snow came from. I don't remember it being cold. I did have my gloves on. Anyway, I have video of this. I'll be sharing it eventually. I know, I'm so lame. Anyway, I had a really good time there. And I think as a consumer and as a tourist, I think the site is very well set up. There is some attempt to incorporate Native American history into the site. I was honestly surprised to even see that, and I think any attempt was a good attempt. I'm not really sure how well it really turned out, how like it would be evaluated by the greater population, but it was neat to even see. They had a dugout canoe there. They had the frame for, I believe it's called a wigwam. It didn't have the outer bits on it. It just had the frame up. They had some basic living setups, like a drying rack and a cook fire and that kind of stuff. I mean, it's things that I have seen other places, but I'm not positive exactly how accurate they are to the tribes in the area, and I don't know if they did it with the aid of the tribes in the area. So I mean, I would be interested to know. I'm always interested to see that. But like I said, they did try to have some emphasis on Native Americans who did live in the area before before the Patty family. John Patty and his family are, I believe, the first recorded settlers, white settlers in the area, and my guess is from the Patty family is really where we get most of the structures that are on that site. So the history of that site is pretty much prehistoric contact, and then John Patty's descendants, and the property changed hands a few times after that, before it was bought up by the Goddards, I'll check that in a second, and became Mystery Hill. So, the history of the mystery of America's Stonehenge. Before I get too into this, I just want people to know that I'm not, like I said, I enjoyed meeting Dennis Stone. I thought he was sweet. I can't wait to go back in the summer and see the site in use for the summer solstice, because I hope I have time to get to this in this video, but the site has become an interesting site because it has become the thing that it was purported to be, in that it is now a sacred, holy site for basically neo-druids and neo-pagans. It's not an old settlement site of Celtic monks or whatever. And I want people to know that I'm not going for any kind of personal attacks here. Everything I'm getting ready to report is things that I have found in research, things that have been documented by other researchers. So, regardless of if I disagree with the current interpretation of America's Stonehenge site, I still think it's a cool site, and I still think the people running it are neat people. So, sorry. But let's get into this. So, the history of Mystery Hill. It is now dubbed America's Stonehenge. It's a little bit, which this tickled me pink, it's a little bit outside of Salem, New Hampshire. So I spent the day in Salem, Massachusetts, drove an hour, went to Salem, New Hampshire, and spent my evening there. The site was originally, as I said before, named Mystery Hill. Its name changed. It's roughly 30 acres of land around a very large hill structure. I think it's pretty. It was a nice walk, not super if you're one of those super hardcore hiking, raw, must cook everything and eat nuts from I found on the ground. It's not that kind of a thing, but it's a very nice leisurely walk. The stone structures are really cool to look at, so I think it's a visually interesting walk. And if you just kind of allow yourself to be immersed into the story that America's Stonehenge tries to sell you through their app and again through their tour guide, it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. As an archaeologist, I have to disagree with the interpretation that America's Stonehenge has chose for its site. But the problem is that we know a bit of history about Mystery Hill. About America's Stonehenge. I just call it Mystery Hill because I actually like that name better. America's Stonehenge is just so hard to say. Anyway. We know that the site originally was owned by Jonathan Patty. I want to say Petrie, I don't know why. Jonathan Patty, first record of him is in 1837. He built most of the structures that are currently on the site. Well, there's a trick there. He built most of the original structures on the site. There is evidence and reasons to believe that some of the structures there are pre-contact because the Native Americans in that area are known for building stone structures, or were known for building stone structures. And so the possibility that some of those stone structures are pre-contact is not unreasonable, but the unreasonable part of that comes in when we try to say that those stone structures were built by early pre-contact white European settlers, aka Druids. No. There's no reason to believe that those structures were built by anyone else other than Native Americans who were native to the area and John Patty and his family. So We also know that at some point there was quarrying on the site, and actually, what's interesting to me here is that, so this is the souvenir book, again. The souvenir book not only acknowledges the Patties and their contributions to the site, but they also acknowledge the quarrying, which, yeah, here we go. They do this a lot. If you can see the white markings, they did this a lot on the site. They highlighted interesting, or what they thought were interesting spots with, it looks like white paint. Kind of wish they hadn't done that. It's not what I would have done, but it's not my site. But they did highlight areas that were clearly quarrying marks, which I was a little surprised at, because I went in here with a lot of preconceived notions about how the site was going to be presented, and some of them bore out, but a lot of them didn't. And I think there are a few spots where they are misinterpreting quarrying marks as ancient markings. But for the most part, they really did kind of highlight them and show people that this is evidence of quarrying, which, of course, just the fact that there was quarrying there draws the site's integrity into question. But again, neither here nor there. Well, I mean, it is, but... So, the person who is probably most responsible for Mystery Hill becoming Mystery Hill is a man by the name of William Goodwin. He bought 20 acres of the land in 1937, so about 100 years after it was originally settled, which is kind of cool. And he dubbed the area Mystery Hill. Now, Goodwin believed that what he had found was the remnants of a druidic cult that had made it into America in its prehistoric past. And this is where the problems happen. So he thought they were Irish monks. Gaelic Irish. Clearly I'm an American. Due to this belief, Goodwin reconstructed the area. So a lot of the structures that are currently standing in that area are reconstructed based on a preconceived notion of the site's use. Goodwin believed that he was rebuilding the original structures as he thought that they would look. So that was done in the 1930s, late 1930s. The site then changed hands in the late 1950s. Dennis Stone's father, Robert Stone, purchased the area, and I believe it's the Stone family that changed the name to America's Stonehenge. So the Stone family is responsible for the site becoming America's Stonehenge. They built the little museum gift shop. It's a neat building, actually. It's a really cool building. Nice and warm, had running water. They have got a nice little video that you can go watch before you go take a walk. That's also where you rent snowshoes and other kinds of things. I mean, they do a lot with the site, which I was very impressed with, because they're trying very much to make it a community site, and they're trying to build community engagement with the site, because the Stone family, at least Dennis and his wife, and I believe their son, do believe that the site is prehistoric European. And of course I don't agree with their interpretations, but because of their belief in this, they really have gone out of their way to kind of present and preserve the site, which is kind of fascinating to me, actually. And it actually kind of goes into my greater interest in studying the pseudo-archaeology of America, really, because America's Stonehenge is probably one of the best preserved pseudo-archaeology sites in America, which is cool. It's neat to me. I think it's cool because of this belief that it is an ancient site, is being preserved and treated as if it's an ancient site. And so the history of that place is actually being preserved. Now, we know that the site has been altered. And I mean, I'm not going to sit here and go into whether that's malicious or not or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Draw your own conclusions, because the reality of the situation is regardless of what those conclusions, what you think the purpose of it is, the site itself has become a little bit of a kind of a holy site, like I said, for the neo-pagans in the area, because they celebrate the solstices and the equinoxes at that site. Because one of the things, and this one really did throw me, because after you take a tour around the stone structures themselves, you are then invited to walk along the, what did they call it, the astrological trails? Yeah, the astronomical trails. Okay, they lost me here. The stone structures were cool, seeing the buildings were cool, looking at, there's an overlook that they built in the middle of the site was cool. I unfortunately was not able to see the sacrificial table, which I'm pretty sure is just a lie press, because there was vandalism, and I think I've already had a little rant about this, but don't vandalize things, people. Seriously. But yeah, apparently some jerks broke into the site one night and took some kind of rock carving device and like carved the hell out of the table. I think it's BS. Dennis and I, Mr. Stone and I did discuss it a little bit. It was really interesting because he told me he was reconstructing it, and I was like, oh really, tell me more. He's using techniques to restore the table that I have used in the past to reconstruct gravestones. So it's interesting to me that he's using basically like museum preservation techniques to restore the stone table, as opposed to going to the store, buying some quickset and cement, mixing it up and dumping it in the holes. It's not enough that he's repairing it. And this is how I know that like they kind of care about the site. This isn't just a hobby. This is something important to them. Instead of just refilling the hole with cement or plaster or any number of things that they could have done to just kind of be like, whatever, they're actually trying to remake. They're trying to fix it. Like fix it so that you can't tell that it was damaged. And this is something that is done in museums all over the world. We put things back together, we put them out for display, that kind of stuff. So the fact that he's going through what is not a simple process, you have to have matching grout, you have to have the right kind of what is it? Well, basically the epoxy glue that you mix together. You have to have the right stuff. You can't do it when it's too cold. You can't do it when it's too wet. You have to do it in stages. Like, this isn't a simple process that he's going through to restore this lie press. But he's doing it. And that to me shows a great deal of care and consideration for the site, and that he takes his position as caretaker of the site very seriously. So I still think it's a lie press, and I still think the people that vandalized it are jerks. But I'm really impressed with Mr. Stone's efforts to restore the sacrificial table. So that's my point. But anyway, you are allowed to walk along the astronomical trail, and if you do, it kind of brings you back around. Everything's built on kind of like this loop, and so if you take the astrological trail, it does bring you back around to the visitor center, which you have to pass through to go around the site and to leave as well. They don't allow animals, so I wasn't able to take my cat, but I can't, there's nothing, like, at least with the stone structures, I can be like, yes, these are stone structures. Yes, you can see how they were built. Yes, I can identify, yes, I can identify why some of these structures exist. The astronomical trail just loses me completely. It's, to put it kindly, it's basically any upright stone is a marker somehow of some kind of astronomical alignment. I'm sorry, it's just not. And some of these aren't even, some of the stones that correlate with some of these locations, if they weren't marked with a little letter so you could find it, you would not have known. They're just rocks. Some of them are just bedrock that has been exposed. Some of them are clearly structure stones that have been moved. It's just not convincing in any way to me. But they do use this, as you can see. They have quite a few correspondences. They do use this for ceremonies, celebrations at least, of these different, like they've got a summer solstice, they've got a May Day, they've got an equinox sunrise stone, November 1st. I don't even know why we're celebrating November 1st. They've got the true north stone, the moon standstill alignment wall, February 1st, again. Anyway, I can't wait to go back and see the site in use for its, well, it's now set up for astrological alignments. And yeah, so that was my incredibly rambling discussion on America's Stonehenge. I liked it a lot. I can't wait to go back. Mr. Stone and his wife are very friendly people. If they see this, hi, sorry we don't agree. But yeah, regardless of what it was in the past, I am actually more interested in how it is being used in the current time period and how it is proposed to be used going forward, because it's a new site of significance because of the belief that has gone into the site. That doesn't make it a pre-Columbian contact, Irish monk, anything. But I am interested in how the belief that it is has altered the use pattern of the site. Hopefully in the summer I will be able to get to you guys some kind of response, but we're doing Vlogmas, so yeah. Thank you all for putting up with this incredibly rambling discussion on America's Stonehenge, and tomorrow I'll pick another topic, so stick around. See you guys then.